Welcome to the Containment Zone. Today's subject does not kill. It does not contain, infect, or distort reality. It appears in silence and leaves behind only peace. This is SCP-4999-. A humanoid figure of unknown origin, seen only at the final moments of life, but only to certain people. People alone, forgotten, unloved, dying without family, without friends, without even the dignity of being seen. And when it arrives, it kneels, lights a cigarette, and waits beside them until the end. It does not speak, it does not move, but for that brief moment, the dying are not alone. They are witnessed, and that is everything. SCP-4999 appears only at the moment of death. Its target profile is heartbreakingly specific in individuals with no living family or social connections. People who die alone, often in hospitals, shelters, or abandoned homes. The forgotten, the displaced, the isolated. There is no record of SCP-4999 manifesting for the wealthy, the surrounded, or the publicly memorialized. It comes for those who, by every bureaucratic metric, do not matter. But to 4,999 they do. Witnesses, nurses, security footage, and rare survivors of near-death experiences describe the entity as a tall humanoid wearing a dark, neatly pressed suit. The face is obscured in shadow, always just beyond recognition. A cigarette is always present, lit, burning slow, never finished. It does not interfere. It does not intervene. It simply kneels, lights a second cigarette, offers one to the dying, whether they ever smoked or not, and waits. When the subject passes, 4,999 remains for exactly 7 minutes, then vanishes. No light, no sound, just an empty chair, and sometimes ashes in the tray. It has no containment cell, no origin, no traceable trail, because it is not a thing to be contained. It is an answer to a question the world forgot how to ask. SCP-4999 was formally cataloged in the modern era, but its pattern stretches far beyond recent memory. Archived surveillance tapes, hospital logs, obituaries, even blurred figures in the corners of old photographs. They all tell a quiet, tragic truth. It's always been here. Accounts as far back as the early 20th century describe a man in black, kneeling beside the dying in empty trenches during World War I, beside burn victims during the Blitz, in disaster wards during pandemics no one speaks about anymore. One nurse's journal from 1918 reads, "He came when the light faded from her eyes, didn't touch her, didn't speak, just waited, and I swear the room felt warmer." Another from a Chicago hospital in 1974. "We found a cigarette burning in the corner. The patient was still holding the matchbook, though he never smoked. Every instance the same. No fingerprints, no name, no disturbance, only the subtle imprint of presence. A witness, deliberately unseen, but never absent." Researchers mapped the events. They followed the locations, dates, and victims. All pointed toward one conclusion. 4,999 has no allegiance, no agenda. It is not guided by theology, government, or ritual. It is simply drawn to the forgotten. Where the world turns away, 4,999 steps forward. And the most chilling part? The Foundation only found it because no one else was looking. SCP-4999 defies categorization. It leaves no anomalous energy. It doesn't warp space or violate causality. It doesn't speak, doesn't interfere, doesn't alter the body or soul of the deceased. And yet, every person who's seen it says the same thing. It felt like someone cared. The Foundation has proposed dozens of theories: a psychic projection of collective guilt, a proto-theological archetype spawned by grief, a Class 5 benevolent observer anomaly, a remnant of a forgotten deity of mourning. But no theory holds, no test sticks, no sensor detects it before it arrives. Because 4999 does not break our understanding of physics. It sidesteps it. It operates in the liminal, between the last breath and the first second of silence. It inhabits the pause, between heartbeats that will never come again. One psychologist described it best: SCP-4999 is the answer to a prayer no one says out loud, not a savior, not a ghost, just a hand on the shoulder at the very end. Attempts to interact have failed. Attempts to lure, contain, isolate, it ignores them all. Because it does not see the Foundation as a threat. It does not see them at all. It sees the dying. And when no one else is there, it chooses to be. The individuals SCP-4999 appears to are diverse in age, race, background, and circumstance. But every profile shares a quiet tragedy. No next of kin, no visitors, no funerals, no one to say goodbye. These aren't villains or heroes. They're the forgotten, the invisible. And somehow, that is enough to summon 4,999. Witness reports are soft, intimate, and remarkably consistent. A hospice nurse in Berlin recalled, "He just sat there, cross-legged on the floor. The patient didn't speak, but he relaxed. His breathing slowed. For the first time in days, he looked peaceful." A janitor at a Detroit shelter, reviewing hallway cameras, wrote, "There was a man sitting next to old Joe, thin, tall, with a cigarette. But when I ran in to ask who he was gone. Joe had passed with a smile." In rare near-death rescues, the surviving individuals often ask, "Who was the man in the suit?" They remember comfort, but not fear. They recall warmth, but no light. They remember the cigarette, the silence, and a gaze they couldn't see, but somehow felt. And sometimes, after 4,999 departs, there's one final gift: a lit cigarette, resting on the windowsill. No ashes, no heat, just the faint scent of tobacco. And something else: presence. SCP-4999 does not select based on morality. It does not discriminate between saints and sinners, criminals or caretakers. All it sees is loneliness. It has sat beside war veterans, homeless artists, forgotten addicts, the institutionalized, the abandoned. It offers no absolution, no punishment, no penance, just company. And in doing so, 4,999 redefines one of the great failures of modern life: that to die unseen is somehow acceptable. The Foundation, after decades of research, no longer classifies 4,999 as a containment risk. They classify it as a question, one that science cannot answer, and one that philosophy barely dares to ask. Is it possible that someone chose to care when no one else would? Because 4999 does not appear to save. It does not prevent. It does not cure. It witnesses. And in witnessing, it gives the dying something the living often fail to provide: the right to be remembered. SCP-4999 may be the most human thing the Foundation has ever documented. Not because it thinks, not because it moves, but because it chooses to be there. when no one else will. It does not ask for thanks. It does not leave behind miracles, but it refuses to let anyone pass into nothing, unseen. It is not divine. It is not mechanical. It is not even explainable. It is presence. At the moment when presence means everything. And if there is a deeper truth to it, a greater purpose, a hidden origin, perhaps it is best left unknown. Because maybe, just maybe, 4999's greatest anomaly is that it asks for nothing. Not faith, not recognition, not fear, just the chance to give one last kindness to someone the world forgot. And in that moment, beneath the quiet hum of life fading, it says what none of us ever do. Out loud, you mattered, you were seen, you were not alone. Thank you for entering another anomaly in the containment zone. And if someday, in a far-off room with no windows, you find yourself alone, you may not be. Look for the smoke, look for the suit, and know you were remembered.